when it comes to smacking yourself in the head and not smacking yourself in the head, then I would cast off shoulder.
What cracks me up is when I go out in the woods and a guy's got to hold on to a tree or sit across a log because he can't squat. Dude, the human body was meant to squat and crap. I mean, that's like our major function.
Yeah, it can be both. Really subtle and just awesome, like going to a Megadeth concert and just hits hard, you know?
I mean, those big fish, like you said, they got big for a reason, and more often than not, you walk away with your tail tucked between your legs.
Oh, yeah.
And you just got to salute him.
I didn't make it, so it's just the way it is. So don't shoot the messenger. If you're a vegetarian, I'm sorry. We got here because we ate meat. That's just the way it is.
Stick 'em solid.
Welcome to the Drop Jaw Flies podcast. In this episode, we discuss proper nutrition and fitness for backcountry anglers and hunters with special guest Brian Call, host of the very popular Gritty Bowmen podcast. Brian is a good friend and hunting buddy who I've known for 20 years, and we've been on some great backwoods and high mountain adventures together. Brian is a great athlete who has studied health and nutrition for years, and with his lifetime of backcountry hunting experience, he shares some great nuggets of information with us. If you enjoy this podcast, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes, Podbean, or our YouTube channel. I'm Chad Nelson, along with my co-host Jason Arvey. Here is today's podcast. Okay, guys, welcome to the Drop Jaw Flies podcast, and we welcome special guest Brian Call, the Gritty Bowmen. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, guys.
Go, Brian.
We're glad to have you. Today we're going to talk fitness and preparation for outdoor adventure, and I invited Brian on. I have known Brian for 20 years, and we were roommates in college. And from the time I've known Brian, he's been a fitness fanatic and outdoor enthusiast, and he knows a lot about backcountry hunting and adventure and the fitness and nutrition level that requires to perform in the outdoors. So Jason and I invited him on, and we want to talk about preparation, what you need to do from a fitness level, from a nutrition level, and even mentally preparing to go outdoors, whether it's a long day outing, maybe you're going for a week on a backcountry fishing, hunting adventure. So, Brian, let's get into it. What do we need to do? What do guys need to do to prepare to go backcountry?
Well, you know, this is kind of a hot topic all the time where there's a lot of people out there who go in the backcountry who are not skinny or not fit and do just fine, right? I mean, let's be honest. You don't have to be fit to do it. Like, there's a lot of people who manage to pull it off every year, as they remind me all the time, that fitness is not, you know, the end all be all. But I'll say this, that and Aaron Snyder, who's on the podcast, the Gritty Bowmen podcast all the time, he said this the other day. I can tell you, he's like, I'm a better person now than I was when I was that fat dude. And I want to be able to climb that mountain to the top and not be tired when I get there. I want to be able to take my daughter and carry her gear if I want to in my pack and feel good when I get to the top. And I want to come home after that and I want to go do something else. And I don't want to have to lay down for 2 days and recover from the exhaustion. You know, he's like, there's a certain quality of life that you get from being healthy and fit. So, you know, it's kind of a broad topic. You can certainly do it, you know, get things done without being hyper fit. But let's say that you're one of those guys that wants to change his life or wants to be in better shape, better health. A lot of times when I'm sort of addressing not the guys that are already fit or the guys that are, you know, super motivated already or hit the gym. Today, I kind of want to talk to those people that are that struggle with their weight, that have struggled with their weight for years, don't know why they don't lose weight, that have a hard time getting out and being motivated to exercise, those kind of people, and some who have maybe given up and are just okay with being fat and unhealthy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you are going on an all-day outing, maybe you're going for 2 days, 3 days, you want to enjoy it. You don't just want to survive it, get through it. You want to have a good time. You want to catch fish. You want to enjoy the experience. There's a popular show on TV right now called Naked and Afraid. It's a survival show. I've watched a few episodes, but the ones I've watched, 2 guys said the same thing. They're like, I'm not coming out here just to survive. I want to thrive. And I think that's the same mentality that we have. We want to thrive. We want to enjoy it and not just get through the hiking and the effort.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Chad. There's a lot of people that we've probably been out with, and Brian's probably been out with, who they start out and everything is great, and then about 300 yards into the trip, issues start to come up, and it can be really difficult for those people to continue on, and you have to make the decision, well, are we going to go back to the car? Are we going to try and make this happen? Or should we just stop right here and see what we can do or salvage the trip? So I'm not saying anything bad about those people, but before you go on a trip or somewhere that you've planned to go, you should probably evaluate what condition you're in and see what that trip is going to require, and then come up with a plan to make that trip possible.
We had Bolin Lewis Outfitters on our podcast a while ago, and they were talking about, they're in Alaska, they're mountain goat hunting in some pretty steep terrain in some gnarly country, and they were talking about hiking up there, and they go pick guys up from the airport to bring them onto the mountain to go hunting. And most of the time, the guys show up and they're in good shape because they know what's required of them. But now and then, they're like, we go to the airport, we pick a guy up, and we don't even go to the mountain. We're like, you can't do this. It's obvious. You're not. You can fake it. You can talk on the phone and say you're fit. You can say you can handle this and all that. But when you get picked up at the airport, and 2 miles into the hike, it's going to be pretty clear. You can't fake it. Okay. And so, I'm just going to say that, to me, and I really strongly believe that, conditioning and strength and physical fitness are really important, and getting there with exercise and hard work is I think key to the ultimate level of success. But I think most of your conditioning and fitness, your health and wellness, is 80% diet and 20% exercise. So 80% diet, it's all in your diet. There's so much that people are not getting, and that's wrong with their health. So let's just do a real quick rundown, like my kind of thoughts on this whole subject. So,
I agree with that 100%. I think diet is more of a factor than fitness. So,
absolutely. So some people think that. So let's just kind of go through your average American diet, right? The sad diet, the standard American diet, and it is sad. The standard American diet is lots of typically quite a bit of carbohydrate. I mean, tons of carbohydrate that's been processed and has no fiber in it. So it's just basically sugar, and then a little bit of protein, but not much, and then bad fats, unhealthy fats, trans fats, and hydrogenated oils and such. So your typical person, has a bowl of cereal in the morning, or they may even go healthy, quote unquote healthy, and eat a bowl of oatmeal with a bunch of sugar and maybe berries on it, They'll have a bran muffin, with some kind of fake butter product, and maybe they'll have a fresh squeezed glass of orange juice or something like that. And they feel like they're doing everything they can. Sometimes they'll manage that their intake, their caloric intake, they'll manage that. They'll go, okay, I just need to eat so many calories for breakfast, so many calories for lunch. And they practice really strong calorie restriction trying to lose weight, and yet they don't lose weight, and they're starving and they're hungry all the time. Well, so that typical breakfast has so much sugar in it. It's hard to get there's really no fiber in a lot of that. Even whole grain fiber isn't the best fiber for your gut. We're going to go kind of deep here, but right on the surface, there's this sad American diet that we all kind of consume in our day-to-day. If you're one of those people that goes to a fast food place, now you're eating chemicals and all kinds of who knows what's in there. My daughter did a research paper recently on fast food, and it was like 90% of the burger that comes from a restaurant isn't even meat; it's other stuff. And then they say 100% beef. Well, they're just saying that the meat that's in it is 100% meat, but not that the whole burger is 100% beef. It's just a slip on marketing. So there's lots of filler. They even find sawdust in those burgers. So the buns are made out of some cancer-causing products. You think that they could just get the bread right, but they take those burgers and they set them out for like 4 years, and they look the same after 4 years as they did when they put them out. Almost, they do a little time lapse where you can watch it, and it's like virtually no change. The bugs don't even eat them.
I've seen it. It's disgusting.
And those are hard to excrete also.
Right. So it's not even real food. And so, and then dinner wise, it's the same kind of thing. People come home, they have some spaghetti, with some sauce and some garlic bread and maybe some corn. Basically, all that kind of that stuff is just high in carbohydrate, low in protein, and low in healthy fats. So the question is what is the human body really meant to consume? How is it engineered? How is it meant to survive? Well, it doesn't take much for us to look at man 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, 100,000, a million years ago, and look at basically human history. And before the advent of grain, about 10,000 years ago, humans were hunter-gatherers for millions of years. So we have a DNA in us that's meant for consuming meat,
and
consuming vegetables and fats and berries, and a little bit of seeds and nuts when we can find them, forage them when they're in season, and fruits when they're in season, right? They're not there all year round, especially depends on where you lived, right, on the planet. But in general, though, it's a hunter-gatherer diet. Well, is that what we eat today?
Not at all.
No, especially in the U.S. when the FDA and government started pushing grains, and they put the food pyramid out and all of that, which is really more of an economic model, not a health food model. Before that, and even leading up to that, people did eat better foods. You have this cancer epidemic, diabetic epidemic, and all this stuff that's happening nowadays. Well, the question is why? What the heck is wrong? Well, our food supply is pretty much toxic. You go to a grocery store, and nearly everything in the store comes in a box and has been processed. So it's not real food anymore.
Well, and we've become a society, a self-pleasing society with no patience. We need self-gratification. We need everything immediately at the tips of our fingers, with microwave ovens, technology, drive-through restaurants. We're just used to getting everything that we want immediately, and we don't take the time to buy good food and take the time to prepare good food.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be when you're a hunter-gatherer that highlight of the day is gathering the food and then consuming it. Like it's a big part of daily life and enjoyment. Now to put it in just this, well, I don't have time, I'm going to eat this thing out of a box because I got better things to do. We've kind of just sort of lost touch with our food. And you see it when people are anti-hunting while they're eating a bowl of, a box of Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's like those animals died. I mean, they were farmed. I mean, those chicken legs didn't grow on trees. That was a live animal. You eat meat every day. Your seats in your car are leather and you're wearing leather shoes, and animals died for those products. We consume, life consumes life. And but there's this disconnect, like those foods are not, they don't connect those foods as coming from a living animal before they made it to the grocery store.
Right.
And so there is that disconnect. So anyway, a quick chemistry lesson or biology lesson, and I'm going to really dumb it down, and I'm no genius here. I just know what's worked, and I've done a little studying. I'll share what I know. I'm certainly not, a fitness or health expert. I know what I know, and I'm going to share that. So here we go. So basically, if you want to be skinny, if you want to be muscular, if you want to look like a woman, most of that is driven by hormones, if not all of it, right?
Yeah.
A man can take certain hormones and he can grow breasts and he can look like a woman, right? You can take steroids. A guy can take steroids. He can look like Pee Wee Herman, and then he can be jacked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can manipulate your body with hormones. Hormones are powerful things. They change whether we grow hair or don't grow hair, whether we grow breasts or don't, and so forth. So hormones, the body creates hormones. You go and you lift weights and the body goes, oh, we have to adapt to these heavy weights. We need to produce more testosterone, more human growth hormone. We need to get the body stronger because this is a new load that's on it all the time, and we need to be able to handle that. So these hormones are internally produced. Well, our body, we control what our body produces in terms of hormones by the inputs we give it. And the same is true for diet. So when you eat sugar, lots of sugar, you produce the hormone insulin. Insulin is used to remove sugar from the bloodstream and store fat. Just think of insulin as a fat-storing hormone. Just to dumb it down really simply, it stores fat. It converts sugar into fat. It's just a simple biology, just a basic lesson here.
Right.
Sugar produces fat. So the more sugar you put into your system, the more insulin you produce, the more fat you store. And insulin drives hunger. It's a hormone that says eat more, eat more, eat more. So more you put more sugar in, you produce more insulin. You eat more sugar, you produce more insulin, you eat more sugar, and you get fatter and fatter and fatter. So when people want to be fit and they want to be healthy, they got to break the sugar cycle. They got to break off from sugar. They got to cut that sugar down, and that's not easy. It can be very difficult. And the ideal situation, though, is to go ahead and just kind of, in the beginning when I'm talking to someone, I want them to get their carbohydrate intake down to, especially if they're overweight or they're really not in good shape, get their carbohydrate intake down to 25 grams per day or less. And it's pretty amazing how many vegetables you can eat and stay way under 25 grams of carbohydrate.
Yeah, if it's the right vegetables.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you eat green vegetables pretty much,
Yeah.
Green cruciferous, you eat asparagus, broccoli, spinach, cabbage, any salads, monster salads, and so forth. You can eat 5 giant salads a day, and you're going to be under 25 grams of carbohydrate.
Oh yeah. When you put this into perspective, Brian and Chad, so whoever's listening out there, maybe they've got a little bit of extra weight. They know they want to get into outdoor sports, fly fishing, hunting, whatever. And they know, hey, this is going to require some work. So they get these thoughts like, I've got to make some changes. So they make the changes, and then what comes is the hard part. It's discipline. And you put into place this diet that we're talking about, learn more about, body chemistry, what works for you. And then you've got to do it every day. And let's just say, let's put into this conversation the trip coming up in a year. They need to lose some weight. So you just thrown out some great suggestions for diet. So how do we get this person that we want to take along with us that has to hike 10 miles, let's say, or maybe 5 to 10 miles to the Wind Rivers to go catch golden trout and cutthroat trout? What are we going to do?
So here's the thing. This is where I think there's a huge people in their mind think, like you just said, Jason, discipline. Now I've got to buckle down and eat salad every day and starve myself to death.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bad.
And that's so not true. To lose weight, you can eat like a king and lose weight too. So when I'm talking about these salads and keeping your carbohydrate intake under 25 grams per day, I'm saying basically put so little sugar into your system that your body doesn't produce insulin at all. It doesn't produce any fat storing hormone whatsoever. You shut it down. And instead, your body starts at first, you're going, dude, I'm hungry. And typically it's like a 2 to 3 week process to turn your body into a fat burning machine instead of sugar burning. So your body's ready to produce hormones. Pretty soon it goes, you know what? We don't get sugar anymore. We need glucagon it's a counter-regulatory hormone to insulin. It burns fat. Your body needs to ramp up its hormone production for burning fat. And it does that after it's starved of sugar, basically. You cut that sugar back, and all of a sudden it goes, okay, now we need to burn fat because that's our food source. You got fat on your butt, you got fat on your belly, you got fat, on your back. It's like, you got fat, you got it. You can, how come when I don't eat, I'm hungry still? I got fat. Well, because insulin actually inhibits fat burning. It blocks the whole production of fat burning hormones. The more insulin in your system, basically it stops your body from producing fat burning hormones. So it takes a 2 to 3 week period, sometimes 4 if you're really bad, to start getting your system equipped to burn fat. Now, during that phase, you're going to be hungry a little bit. It's not easy. It's a little bit of a tough transition. But after 2 to 3 weeks, all of a sudden, first of all, you're going to lose weight right off the bat, like sometimes a pound every 2 days. But the cool thing about it is, so we talked about that sad breakfast, right, Jason, where we were like, we were going to have an oatmeal, maybe a bowl of cereal for breakfast, some orange juice, a bran muffin, whatever.
The breakfast of diabetes, right?
Yes. The heart disease breakfast.
Exactly.
And now I'm saying, you know what you're going to have instead? You're going to have 4 pieces of bacon. You're going to have an omelet full of veggies and ham and cheese. You're going to have all this meat and fat, just to your heart's content.
Sounds good to me.
I'm hungry
sausage
right now. Where's some bacon?
Okay? So notice, does that seem like you're sacrificing with that breakfast?
No, it definitely not. And I think on the discipline part of it, I mean, you hit it right on the head. You don't have to starve yourself. I think what the people are going to have trouble with is following that.
Yeah, because some people are like, they've been ingrained in their head for so long that it makes you fat, which is complete falsehood, that it's really hard for them to go, wait, you're telling me, and I have high cholesterol and blood pressure, that I can eat eggs and bacon every morning? And I'm saying, yeah, absolutely. It's a simple chemistry, issue. It's biology. And so when you switch over and you have eggs and bacon till you're full, eat them till you're comfortable. If you feel like 2 eggs or 3 eggs and 4 pieces of bacon, do that. Don't eat the sugar. At lunchtime, again, more choices that are fat and protein based. Same with dinner. Throw in lots of vegetables, just the ones that have no sugar in them. Like we said, salads and stuff. Now, over time, it won't take you very long before all of a sudden you're burning fat like a champion and you're no longer hungry. And let's say you don't eat breakfast in the morning because you wake up and you're like, you know what, I'm not really that hungry. And you go through the afternoon and into the evening and you decide to eat for the first time. Like I do this all the time. I don't eat till like 5 o'clock at night. I was busy. I wasn't hungry. I got fat on my body, and my body can burn that fat as it needs to. And I'm very good and efficient at burning fat. So I'm not one of those people that gets pissed off every 2 hours because I'm hungry, unless I've worked out really heavy for a few days. Then it happens. But that has everything to do with just calorie intake for so much exercise. But getting the diet switched over to a fat burning diet, getting the sugar out of your life, that's critical. So if guys can just start with that, if guys and gals can just start with cutting the sugar out and eating clean, and when I say sugar, I'm talking about breads and grains as well. I'm talking carbohydrate. Get the carbohydrates out of your life, except for the good ones, which is vegetables and fruits, and not bananas and mangoes. You might as well eat a candy bar. I mean, those are still super high in sugar. Things that are great, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, those have strawberries, very low sugar intake for their all their positive values like fiber and micronutrients. So get into like I said, those fruits that are low in sugar. Same with the vegetables. Eat that stuff. Get that down, your sugar intake down, your carbohydrate intake down, and embrace the fat. Eat the nuts. Eat the steak. Eat the bacon. I like high fat dairy, super high fat dairy. I try to stay away from if it's like a super high fat cheese or cream, or I eat that stuff. But I keep the dairy, I keep the like skim milk out of my life. And the fat, a lot of times when we have issues with milk, it's due to the proteins in it and not the fat in it. The fat is fat. It's just fat is fat, whether it's from a cow, from the cream on a cow, or whether it's the fat on the beef. And it's fat's fat, and so for the most part your body handles fat very well.
So fat is like pH fat. It's cool. Fat.
Oh,
healthy
yeah.
fat.
Yes.
And the fat is fat.
And the thing with fat is it satiates
natural.
more. It's natural.
Yeah.
If we were hunter-gatherers, we'd be like, heck yeah, give me that fat, man. We would eat it all the time. We wouldn't have access to the amounts of sugar that we have access to today. We just never consumed it, and our bodies aren't adapted to it. So that's your basic lesson on diet. It's get that far first. Try to keep that fat. A great book to read is The Primal Blueprint by Mark Sisson. He has a great blog called Mark's Daily Apple, and you can go out there and read all kinds of stuff that'll change your life. When I was about 210 pounds. And I just slowly kind of was gaining weight over the years, but I kind of thought I was just filling out because I was getting older, right? And
You were filling out.
I was, and not, and once I realized, like, when you consume more than 100 grams, depending on your body size and your chemistry, you consume more than 100 grams or 150 grams of carbohydrate per day. And you're going to put on about, let's say, a half a pound a month.
Yeah.
After 1 year, that's 6 pounds. After 5 years, that's 30 pounds. And after 10 years, that's 60 pounds. We don't get 60 pounds overweight in 1 year. It's especially guys. We from 30 to 40, we gain 60 pounds because we put on a half a pound a month, which is less than a quarter a pound a week. I mean,
You don't even notice it.
you don't even notice it, and before you know it, you're like just a little bit heavier and a little bit heavier and a little bit heavier, and that's really due to our sad diet. That diet that I'm talking about, that's a little just too high in sugar, and we're constantly storing fat. We're always hungry. You look at some fat dude, and he's like 30, 50 pounds overweight, and he just ate a donut, and an hour later, he's like, dude, I'm starving to death. I need to get to we got to have lunch. And you're like, but you just ate like 3 breakfasts. Well, the truth is he is hungry because insulin came in, stored that stuff as fat. His body has no fat burning hormones, so he can't burn the fat on his body. And now he needs energy so he can function. But guess what? The only way he can get it is to eat more sugar because that's the hormones that he's working with. So you got to break the cycle. You got to get off the carbohydrates. That'll get the body going again, burning fat. And then from there, go out there on Mark's Daily Apple, read his book, go to Paleo Solution with Rob Wolf. That's a good source. Go out there and get some more education on that, because there's a lot more out there in terms of the good fats we should be eating and things like omega-3s and omega-6 and for joint pain and health and all that. But I don't want to take up this whole hour on that. So,
Brian, I think it's interesting to note too, and this could be a whole nother podcast on the issues, the health-related issues caused from modern diets. You put a post up on Facebook a few days ago on low fat and the issues that low-fat diets cause. And I don't think it's any coincidence that you go back to when modern doctors started encouraging low-fat diets, and you look at the health issues that people have today, like Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's didn't exist more than 50, 60 years ago.
Yep.
And it's a leading cause of death today. And it's because your brain is 90% cholesterol. That's what your brain is made up with. You start not eating cholesterol and eating real butter and whole milk and healthy fats like that, man, you're going to end up with not only brain disease, but heart issues as well. But so I don't want to get into that, but I think that's a good point to note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much to talk about that can change people's lives. And my sister's diabetic, right? And she was struggling. She's on statins, and she was struggling really hard with trying to get healthy, right? And she had high cholesterol, and so they're high blood pressure, and she's diabetic. And the doctor gave her a meal plan on what she should be eating for breakfast each day for her heart healthy. And it was like, foods approved by the American Heart Association, like Cheerios and oatmeal, and it was no eggs, low fat and all this stuff. And I'm looking at her thing this is from her doctor, right? And I'm looking at it, and she's like, this is what he says to take, and then he's prescribed me statins. And so these are like pills that, drugs that help lower, but it's not a natural way to do it. And these pills, these drugs come with all kinds of, the side effect list is just scary. It's just a time bomb waiting to happen to jack your body up and kill you. And so I'm like, sis, you need to eat eggs for breakfast and bacon. And you need to have a steak for dinner, and you need to have a sweet potato with, butter and a pile of high fat whipping cream with a little cinnamon, and just kind of you adapt to these different rich and delicious foods. In the Primal Blueprint, Mark Sisson has 2 or 3 cookbooks on how to eat primal style. And in his cookbooks, it's just like some of the most awesome foods, like fish tacos and bison chili and like all this different stuff that's just delicious food. You're not depriving yourself at all. You're going back to how the body is meant to live. And we get pleasure out of 2 things when we eat: fat and sugar. We like those 2 things. What we've done, though, is we've kind of carved out the fat because, this notion that it's not good for you, and we've replaced it with sugar, which is the opposite.
Right.
And by doing that, we've gotten fat and unhealthy. But if we take out the sugar and put the fat back in, we don't feel like we're hungry all the time. We don't feel like we're depriving ourselves of delicious treats either, of a rich and luscious lifestyle, because you're really not. And rather than caloric restriction, which I'm just not, I used to watch, like, Jason, I wanted to get down to 200 pounds from 210, and I'm like, okay, 2,400 calories a day, 2,000 calories a day, only this much at this time, this much at this time. I'm like, okay, I'll eat this block, and then I eat this for 2 hours later, and I just got to push to this period. And it was like this ridiculous. Nobody did that 1,000 years ago. I mean, it's like, it's like, well, how come every caveman wasn't fat?
Because they didn't have a couch and a TV.
even if you replace the activity, their diet was just completely different. And so if we go and we adapt that diet, and like I said, it's rich and delicious, our body just sort of regulates itself. So I don't ever watch my calories anymore. I just don't even bother. I have a breakfast till I'm full. I have a lunch till I'm full. I eat when I'm hungry. I don't eat when I'm not hungry. And I probably consume, I don't know. I mean, I consume a lot of calories, but it's all of those foods that I say are knock yourself out on. Eat as much of that stuff as you want. And the thing is nobody wants to eat 50 eggs. Nobody wants to eat. Well, you do want to eat bacon because it's nature's candy, but take bacon out of it. And nobody wants to eat, 3 pounds of fish tacos. It's like there's certain things where we eat them and we're like, I'm good now. I'm going to eat so much, shrimp and you're like, I'm good. The one thing is that we overeat on carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Like, I can eat a bucket of French fries. I could just keep eating them. A bag of potato chips, the whole bag can go down. But you give me something that's high in fat, like a bag of macadamia nuts or something, I'm going to eat like a little handful and then I'm like, I'm good. Yeah. It just sort of, fat does a different thing to us than sugar does.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead, Jason.
Oh, you go ahead, man.
Well, I was just going to say, I think, in addition to a paleo-type diet, eating the right foods, guys today also need to supplement, because we just don't have the nutrients in our soil that we had, 20 years ago, 50 years ago. They're just not there. And so if you eat the right type of diet, you supplement. Jason and I love this. It's called Tangy Tangerine from Longevity. It gives you all the minerals in addition to the vitamins that you need. It's a game changer. It's life changing.
Yeah, I love those. I love those vitamins too, and I have found that as you get deeper into the diet thing, you realize that we are consuming. And it's probably a very important thing to bring up. Even now, just brush over it, is, like you said, Chad, about the food not having the vitamins and minerals in it. Our meat doesn't have the proper fats in it either, most of it, from the grocery store. So while it's true, like when you go and buy a head of broccoli from the store, it's lacking magnesium and calcium, which is really broccoli would be like an ideal source for us to get the right ratios of magnesium and calcium into our body for us to have strong bones and health. Mm-hmm. Instead, we go to milk, which doesn't even have magnesium in it, only has some calcium in it. It actually isn't the best way for us to absorb and utilize calcium. But when we consume the broccoli, it doesn't have that in it either, because it's been raised in ground that has poor in minerals, and it's mostly just rapidly grown without the minerals, but lots of fertilizer.
NPK.
Yeah. So what happens is, like Chad said, some good supplements are very helpful with that. I still think, and I still push hard for people to get get their nutrition from food. Eat freaking food. Eat food. Quit trying to get nutrition out of a bag, a powder. That said, like Chad said, I still supplement with like longevity. I still take like a liquid calcium pill from gel from Schiff. I like that particular calcium a lot. I've tried a lot of different ones. That's just one I like. I take some glucosamine. I take some supplements because my food doesn't quite have what I need in it. Now, when I talk about meats and fats, we just talked about how important fats are and how much we need those fats. Not vegetable fats. We need fats from animals. It's just the freaking truth. Vegetable fats are not the kind of fats that our bodies need to thrive on. Our brains were developed on, that our genetic makeup is meant to work on. I didn't make it, so it's just the way it is. So don't shoot the messenger. If you're a vegetarian, I'm sorry. We got here because we ate meat. That's just the way it is. So if you want to live optimally, you just have to eat meat, period. And you can eat vegetables all you want, but it's suboptimal. You're not, and you can find some way to eat some giant, huge amount of protein from some other sources and fats. But at the end of the day, the truth is, no caveman had access to that kind of diet. It's a replacement diet that's suboptimal. So we all ate meat, and we got here because we ate it, and the fat on the animals. So the fat on the animals, though, is a little bit messed up because 90% or more of all the animals we buy at the grocery store are grain-fed.
Yeah.
Grain is not the same as grass. It's not the same as wild forage. It's not the same as plants. Grains are, again, carbohydrates. They are high in omega-6 oils, and omega-6 oils cause inflammation, which is a good thing to a certain extent. So when you sprain your ankle, like I did in that bear hunt in Alaska, which blew up to the size of a small watermelon, when you sprain your ankle like that, the body sends white blood cells to that area. It sends all of this swelling and inflammation. It says, okay, we have an injury here, and it does this stuff to swell around that and protect the ankle and help it heal. Part of the healing process is for omega-3 oils and fatty and to go in there and remove that inflammation when it's time. So omega-3s are think of them as like nature's ibuprofen. They reduce swelling. It's nature's ibuprofen without the ulcer that comes with ibuprofen and all the other things that NSAIDs cause, which is what ibuprofen is. And so when you go and you eat an elk that was wild that you shot, that elk ate grass, and that grass was half omega-3, half omega-6, and the fatty acids in that elk are half omega-3, half omega-6. And then when Jason eats that elk and that elk fat, Jason basically consumes half omega-6, half omega-3. So your cells take up a balance of like a 1-to-1 for every one.
In rare form, too.
Yeah.
I'm blood's coming down my cheeks, brother. There's no cooking it much for me.
Yeah. That's right. And that's so if you do cook an elk too much, it's going to be like shoe leather. So nice and rare is the way I like to eat it too. But basically
these elk are feeding on grass too that, of anywhere on the planet is probably the most mineral rich.
Right.
Up in the mountains, down in the valleys, in some floodplains where minerals get washed to, the soils aren't depleted there.
Yeah. And these animals are eating all of that. When you consume them, you eat the liver, you eat some of those things that are high in iron and in different minerals. You get all the benefits of, that's where organ meat's really good. You get all the benefits of all those vitamins and minerals that they consume. You get all their fatty acids into your system. I did a little test there's a couple apps you can download for your smartphone and on, okay, well, if I consume this much fatty acid, you know, or you can track what you eat for the day and see how much omega-6 you're getting and how much omega-3 you're getting in your diet. And let's say an ideal ratio is 1-to-1. So for every 1 gram of omega-3 in your system, you have 1 gram of omega-6, right? So when that ankle swells, it swells properly, and then when it's time to reduce the swelling, it reduces the swelling. Body does its job that it's evolved to do. Well, we're walking around here all inflamed in the U.S. and in other places where they have crappy diets because we're full of omega-6 oils and no omega-3, like zero. We're not getting those nature's ibuprofen in our system. It doesn't exist. When I used that app to track mine, I was 1-to-20 was my ratio. For every 1 gram of omega-3, I had 20 grams of omega-6. That's completely unnatural. Get my blood test, completely unnatural.
Yeah.
So when I'm eating beef from the store or a pig or a pork or a bacon or a chicken, all of that stuff has been fed corn. And all of that stuff is lacking those omega-3 oils. When you're eating grass-fed beef or you're eating elk or deer or wild-caught salmon and all of that kind of stuff, now you're jumping into these foods that were that are naturally raised that have fatty acid profiles that match our own, that are ideal for our own health. So when you eat those wild caught and those natural found animals, you consume those proper fats the way you should be getting them. And you'd think, well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take 20 grams of omega-3 from Costco, and that'll get me back up to 1-to-1 ratio, right? Well, it doesn't quite work that way. And I don't know why. I've kind of experimented with high doses. First of all, you got diarrhea when you take that much fish oil. But more than that though, it's like for some reason those insane amounts of in that overly large intake of omega-6 oils through our normal diet sort of inhibits our ability to leverage the omega-3s. It's all anecdotal. Most of the stuff that I've read on Mark's Daily Apple and I'm dealing with a lot of CrossFit athletes who have changed their diets. And so for me, I was told Chad about this years ago, maybe 7 years ago now or something, where I was like taking ibuprofen every day. I just heard about Cameron Haynes, the bow hunter, talking about how he takes ibuprofen every day. Well, I did that. I mean, it was like a vitamin for me. It was like a daily, I took it in the morning, afternoon, and evening as I worked out, played basketball, did stuff. I just took it all the time because if I didn't, I would be sore. My hands would hurt. I was feeling like my hands were just arthritic. I was just getting older. It's just something I had come across. But then I was meeting these other athletes that were crazy fit, and they were like 60, and they could go to the gym and do the same workout as I did and then come back the next day and do it again. And I needed to lay in bed I needed to take it easy for 3 or 4 days because I was so tight and so sore. So your body would get inflamed. I'd get swollen tissue. I retained a lot of water because of all the swollen tissue, and I wouldn't be able to recover with any kind of speed. And so once I started removing those foods from my diet, like excess carbohydrate, and I removed those unhealthy sources of meat that were bringing me, the wrong levels of fatty acids, and then I started taking a fish oil supplement that gave me some omega-3s. After a few months, the swelling stopped. The arthritis went away. My knees and hands felt completely different, and that's when I came across the Primal Blueprint book, and I was on Amazon, and I was on the guy at the gym. This old 60-year-old dude is like, "You got to read this book. It changed my life." I get on there, and there's like a couple thousand reviews on Mark's book, mostly old guys that are like, "Wow, this anti-inflammatory diet is amazing." Well, it's kind of funny because it's not really an anti-inflammatory diet. It's just the diet we were meant to. The human body's evolved to thrive on, but it did remove all the swelling. So now
Cool.
at 41, I can go hit the CrossFit gym, clean and jerk 300 pounds, lift weights, run, climb a rope, do my burpees, whatever I want to do, come home, feel fine, wake up the next morning, mild soreness, if any, and go and do that again. 7 years ago, in my mid-30s, I couldn't dream about it. I thought those days were long past, and I thought that I was just feeling the effects of age. It's not true.
I've been on two elk hunts with you, Brian. The first was 9 years ago, I think. And I remember you popping the ibuprofen. And I was asking you for some too. Because,
right.
you're elk hunting, steep terrain. You can do it the first day. The next day you wake up in the morning and you're sore, you're tired. And come day 3, day 4, that's when it's super hard to get up when your alarm clock goes off at 5 a.m. and go climb that mountain. We did another elk hunt together 2 years ago, and you and I are both healthier, both eating better diets, exercising, and what a difference to carry, 50, 60 pounds, our tents,
Yep.
all our gear up into the mountains in Oregon, wake up, pack up camp the next morning, do that day in and day out. It makes the trip so much more enjoyable when your body can handle the load.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And recovery really is the name of the game. You start to get over 30 years old, depending on how you've treated yourself and what you eat, you can be in various stages of health. But basically, as you get older, you get away with less and less. And the change in my diet has changed my life. And so now it's like my recovery is everything. Like I need to be able to hike up the hill. Now, if some 20-year-old can race me up the mountain and he can get there to the top 5 minutes before I do, did that help him catch that fish on the mountain lake any more than I did? No, not really.
Unless there was only one fish and he got it.
Right. I mean, so technically in that 5 minutes, I mean, yeah. So, but really, if he beats me by 20 minutes to the top, doesn't matter. An hour doesn't matter. What matters is the next day when I wake up, do I feel awesome?
Right. Yeah.
That's the question. And the day after that, do I feel awesome? And the day after that, and especially where I am dealing with a 7 to 10 day elk hunt in the backcountry, 7 miles in or something, with a 70-pound pack, 60 pounds all day, every day. When you're doing that, you got to be able to wake up day after day and it be like the first day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's not how it used to be. It used to just be a downward spiral every day and more ibuprofen until, I got home and I was limping and sore for a week. There is certainly an amount of exercise that I have put on, and I've learned about better body movement, and I've developed stronger joints and connective tissue due to lifting routines and some certain types of exercise and conditioning that I go through. But by far the biggest, most life-changing part of this has been what I eat.
That's so cool, Brian. I really hope that people that are listening to this will pick up on some of the things that you've said and want to change how they're eating and what they're doing with their time as far as becoming more fit, so that they can go out and enjoy the outdoors for extended periods of time and be able to carry things, hike up things, be able to, like you said, enjoy that next day instead of, I'm just going to hang out in the tent today, guys. Here's my tag, fill it for me.
What's been awesome for me is all three of us are in our 40s, and I think all three of us today are in better shape than we were in our 30s.
Oh, yeah.
All of us have valued exercise. I haven't known Jason as long as you, Brian, but Jason's in good shape too. But what's changed the lives for all three of us is an improved diet, is becoming more educated on nutrition and good health.
Well, in the workout, man, I mean, it's like I don't work out nearly as much as I did back then. Like, I don't spend hours running and doing triathlons, and I might get to the gym 2 days a week and do a little rowing on my rower in the basement, 1 day a week, some burpees or something. My time spent exercising is like probably a total of an hour and 45 minutes a week. And I am so much stronger, so much fitter, cardiovascular capacities so much higher. Everything's just totally different than it used to be. And most of that I just attribute to, because with age it should be going down, but instead it went up. It just goes to show how toxic our food supply is, how bad it is for us, how much it's messing up our bodies, how they're resilient, they're amazing machines. We just got to fuel them right, and they work the way they're supposed to work.
Yeah, I agree.
So
we've covered the diet a bit. If guys change their diet, they start eating healthy, what are some recommended exercises they could do, maybe 3-4 days a week to help them with loading up a pack and hitting the hills, hiking to a high mountain lake, maybe hiking 2-3 miles down a river to go on a fishing adventure?
So this is always, everybody has a different opinion here. And for me, though, it goes back to the whole hormone discussion. What do I want from my body? I want my body to be stronger. Okay? So I want stronger, especially as an aging athlete. I want stronger connective tissue, stronger ligaments and tendons. I want thicker, denser bones. I want stronger musculoskeletal system. So I want to be stronger. But I also want conditioning and cardio, right? So, I want that as well. My cardiovascular capacity to move oxygen and use oxygen as a fuel source, I want that to be stronger as well. Well, in my opinion, the number one way to get stronger and to improve cardio, which is counterintuitive to some, but it's true, lifting heavy weights. Just lifting heavy weights will put a dose on the body that causes a certain response. So I like big, heavy leg exercises because your legs are big and they're strong.
So you're saying it causes a hormone response.
It causes a hormone response. So when you grab like a bar and you do a squat, and I highly recommend you do all these movements. This is assuming you know how to do the movement properly, because most people don't, and most of what you see on the internet is bad. But Kelly Starrett is a great source. Google Kelly Starrett and look him up on YouTube and find how to do a squat. Okay, but if you put a heavy bar on your back, let's say, Chad, how much do you weigh?
I'm 180.
So let's say we get a 200-pound or a 180. We do a body weight squat. So you put the bar on your shoulders and you do a squat properly, and you do like a set of 5, and you do that 3 times. That activity will tell your body, holy cow, these huge muscle groups like your glutes and your hams and your quads and everything are now engaged, right? We're not talking about just your tiny little bicep. We're talking about big muscles, like half your body from the waist down just got heavily engaged, plus your core. The body's like, oh, that's a heavy load. Wow. Your heart rate goes up. It's like, okay, we got to send oxygen to those legs. This is a heavy load. Your organs turn on. You maybe even have some adrenaline pump. Like, this is so heavy, I can barely get it up for my 5th rep. Your body goes, okay, we need human growth hormone and we need some testosterone now because we've put this load on it. And you do that, let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Your body will slowly change. You'll slowly start producing testosterone and other hormones that change your makeup. They'll start going, okay, we need denser bones. We need stronger connective tissue. We need more flexibility, and we need to change this muscle structure. And you'll start to you'll change. And what's ironic is your chest and your rest of your body will also change a little along with it, even though you're not working it out, because you're producing so much testosterone. And so sometimes, like if you get injured and you've hurt your shoulder, one of the best ways to heal that shoulder quickly is to keep doing stuff like what you can do body weight wise. You're looking for a hormone response. That hormone response is weight. Give your body heavy things to lift, and it will produce more hormone. And that hormone, you may not be, it's not unlike injecting yourself with a hormone, right, to heal a shoulder, but you're making it properly, how your body's meant to make it.
And naturally, yeah.
And naturally.
Yeah. I would say, oh, go ahead, Brian.
So you do those squats, that's a great one. Another great exercise is a deadlift, which is hard to mess up. You know, those, I mean, you do that properly. Heavy load, that's a whole body. The deadlift uses more muscles in the body than any other lift does. So you do a couple of those lifts a week, and your body will get stronger. You'll get stronger, denser, better tissue. It's all kind of a whole body exercise too. It's a complex movement. It's not just an isolated curl where you're just working one little muscle. It's your whole body, and it's a functional movement that you would use in the woods. You'll pick heavy things up, like a log or whatever, and you'll move it, and you'll pick your backpack up, and you'll also squat things like squat your backpack. You'll squat to take a dump. You'll squat to, do things. So all those things.
That's one movement everybody knows, right?
Yeah, everybody knows. And what cracks me up is when I go out in the woods and a guy's got to hold on to a tree or sit across a log because he can't squat. Dude, the human body was meant to squat and crap. I mean, that's like our major function. We would, and I'm guilty of it. I remember being 19 and going to Japan, sitting down, and we had a toilet in the floor. It was just a hole in the floor. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? And I couldn't squat at the time. I couldn't squat without falling over. I couldn't go to the bathroom.
Hopefully there was a shower nearby, Brian.
There was a little pipe, and I kind of held on to it while I went down. Now I can sit in a squat position, a comfortable squat position deep in the squat, and I can sit like that for an hour or two without fatiguing. And it just feels normal. And Japanese people, man, they were down squatting. They'd sit down in a squat circle outside the 7-Eleven, 6 or 7 guys, and talk for 3 hours without even. It's a completely comfortable position for them to be in. Well, our bodies are meant to be like that. You look at little kids; they can squat like that for hours. It's no big deal. So getting that back, I think, is just good for all around health. But you want that hormone response, and then sprint once or twice a week. And when I say sprint, basically I say because I'm worried about old people like me and older guys getting and trying to get back into shape that have been out of shape in a long time. Don't sprint on a flat surface. Find a steep hill so there's low impact. There's not a lot of jarring and stuff like that. You won't be pulling a muscle. And of course, maybe give yourself a couple of weeks of going a little easy. But really what you want to do is you want to be able to sprint for 10 seconds, 7 to 10 to 15, depends on when you hit the burn phase. Mm-hmm. But basically, you're sprinting up that hill as fast as you can, as hard as you can, with everything you've got. And it's kind of fun because basically, when was the last time you sprinted for everything you were worth, Jason, like there was a lion behind you?
An Easter egg hunt, I think. It may be. No, yeah, I totally agree, man. That's dang good advice.
There's like years ago where I'm like, I remember reading this about 4 or 5 years ago, going, when did I really sprint like I was going to get killed if I didn't run as fast as I could? It's like I couldn't remember. It's probably been 10 years. I mean, I honestly didn't remember. But is there anything more primal in our body than sprinting?
Just an all-out run.
All-out run with everything you've
maybe,
got?
But I think running's
up there, right? Like we run to catch things, like evolved. We ran to catch things or to run away from things for survival, right? And so it's interesting, like how you feel. Like, so you line up and you're like, okay, I'm going to run as fast as I can. And then boom, you shoot out of the gate and you're like, and you're doing everything you can. You're like, I could run forever. And about 7 seconds in, you're like, oh crap, it's over. Done. Like, you feel so powerful for 7 seconds. And then you get past those energy systems that are right there at the surface. And you dip into other energy systems, the lactic acid comes, and you're breathing heavy, and you're like, I'm done. Well, you run like maybe a second or two into that phase, and you stop, right? And so it might be 7 seconds for you if you're not in very good shape. I can go about 12 or 14 seconds, sometimes a little more, before where I feel that amazing. It just feels good. You do that like 4 times, like rest a minute or so, and then repeat it. And do that like 4 times. You've ran for a total of, 28 seconds when you add it all up, or maybe 60 seconds of run time. The whole workout took you, basically with maybe a minute or 5-minute rest, whatever you need to be able to sprint again for that for 4 sets. You're only out there like 10 minutes, maybe 15, and your workout's done. Plus, you didn't really work that hard. You just played. You just had fun. But what happens is the body starts to produce hormones and all that adrenaline, and it starts going. You come back from that, and all of a sudden you're like, you get a little cardio, you get a little of this, you get a little of that. That's all good for you, but you don't have the soreness and the tiredness that comes from, a 4-hour ride on your bike. And so you start getting, with a little lifting and a little sprinting, and not a lot, your body transforms into something else. And it's funny, if you look at like the best sprinters in the world and think of some that are in the Olympics that you've seen, are they not the most jack-cut individuals on the planet? Yes. I'm not talking about the long-distance runners. I'm talking about your Jackie Joyner, Kersey type, the ones that are just like, boom, they're just like jacked. They're fit as like can be. Well,
muscular.
Yeah. And they don't even lift hardly that much weight. Well, sprinting has a hormone effect on the body that helps you get cardio capacity, helps you get fit, but doesn't take a lot of effort to do it. And you add a little weightlifting to it. And Mark Sisson talks about this in his book, The Primal Blueprint, because he was a famous endurance runner. Running like 100-mile races and stuff. He was one of the best in the world, close, at an elite level for sure. And he talked about how his body was falling apart. And then he would go to these like he had digestive problems and all these health issues. But he'd go to the track and the sprinters would show up. Now, they weren't there Monday, Wednesday, Friday because he'd need to log like 20 miles a day so he could stay fit enough to do, or 10-mile days. And so that takes however long it takes, right? Plus, it's just a suffer fest and it's this endurance hell and you're just the whole time. Well, the sprinters would show up, right? And he's like, they'd sprint, and then they'd hang out and talk, and then he'd sprint, and they hardly even looked like they were even winded. They barely broke a sweat. And they do some wind sprints, and they do these for like, half hour, and then they'd go lift some weights, and then they go home. And they're laughing, and then they come back like, a day and a half later. They didn't even work out every day. And he's like, they'd be these ripped, jacked, fast athletes, and yet they didn't have any he's like, I'm looking at my own body, and I look like a cancer victim. I'm looking at their body, and they look like Greek gods. And I'm running like 10 hours a week or more. They work out for maybe a total of an hour and a half for the week. They're hit strong, healthy, good cardio, capacity to an extent, And he's like, maybe there's something to this, And I really think that, and then after experimenting with it, it's absolutely right. So I'm just all about lifting some heavy weight a couple days a week and all about sprinting a couple days a week and starting there. And then as you start to get control over your life and you start to feel stronger, then you just naturally start trying to do other things just for fun. Like I go to the CrossFit gym not to get fitter. I go there to play. It's my playtime.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. Hopefully we've motivated some people to get out and maybe cut back their sugar and implement an exercise program and really make a change.
Well, and the important thing is, I agree, Jason, you must change your diet, but then do whatever exercise. I mean, if you have access to heavy weights, everybody can go sprint, but the important thing is to do something. Get out there and do something. Yeah. The best workout, if you're planning a trip into the mountains with a heavy pack, is throw a pack on and go do that exercise.
Yep, absolutely. Lift heavy weight, however that is,
Yeah.
Like you're saying, Brian, heavy weight could be 10 pounds to somebody and 200 pounds to somebody else. It's just, you got to find out where you're at, and then
I was at the gym. I was at the gym the other day, and I did like a 255 pound thruster, like a squat, and then you stand up and thrust it overhead. And I did a few of them, and some people on Facebook are like, "That's so bad for you." I can just feel my neck and my hips and my knees popping, and my shoulder coming out, and it's like, I didn't do that. I didn't get there on day one. I have slowly built up the strength for my body to handle that over the course of years. So my bone density, my spine, doesn't compress. I've got all this capacity to handle those loads. You do it over time, right. And you transform your body. So that load is not a deal. It's not a big deal. My knees are not weaker because I've been doing this. They're crazy strong because of that load. And I need loads like that now in order to get my body to be stronger. But years ago, I needed loads a quarter that size to get my body stronger, because that's where I was at. And so don't be afraid of weights and lifting heavy. That's part of getting stronger, but you need to lift heavy for where you're at. And one thing to note, like when it comes to this kind of stuff, one of the greatest gymnastics coaches talked about this, that when you're trying to transform bone tissue and ligaments and tendons and muscles, when you break down muscle tissue, bone, and ligament and tendon, they all have very different recovery rates, and they drastically differ from one another. So when you want to make your bone denser, so you put it under a load and you break it down, right? It takes about 12 months for that bone tissue to be replaced with the new, stronger bone tissue. Okay? Mm-hmm. It takes about, and these are just, I can't remember the formal numbers, but this is just to share the concept. It takes about 5 months for the ligaments and tendons to be replaced with the stronger tissue. And it takes about 2 weeks to 3 weeks for the muscle to be replaced with stronger tissue. So what happens is when you go and you lift weights, you're like, man, I'm getting stronger. Man, I'm getting stronger. Man, because the bone is the muscle is recovering that quickly. The muscle is getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. But you have to remember that the ligaments and tendons, they're a little bit slower. They're not keeping up with how strong your muscles are getting. And your bones, even slower. So when you're getting into lifting and you're getting stronger, one thing I say to new athletes and stuff is to take your time. Maybe you can, bench press or overhead press, 100 pounds. Maybe you can, because your muscles got you there. You started at 50 and now you're at 100. But don't do it. Just wait. Mm-hmm. Keep doing it at the lighter weights until you've done it for so long that your ligaments, tendons, and bones are good and strong, and then go up to the next one.
For sure.
And I've done that for my whole life, and a lot of people are like, well, I see a lot of, unfortunately, some CrossFitters get injured, and so much of that really is due to that rush to get stronger. Keep in mind that you're not just building muscle tissue. You're building ligaments and tendons and bones, and those are the ones that are more important than the muscle. and they take a lot more time. So just because you have the muscle doesn't mean you have the ligaments.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, and to build higher bone density, everybody's going to require the raw materials to do that, because you can't build something from nothing. And so, like what we were talking about, if you do supplement, especially if you're in your 40s, even late 30s or whatever, you're not going to get all the stuff that you need to actually build. You might eat enough to sustain, but if you really want to build and increase that density, you've got to put a lot of material into your body.
Yeah.
So that's where I think the supplementing comes in, Brian. And we all have our supplements, but bones require a lot of calcium, magnesium. And so if you're just drinking a glass of milk a day, that's kind of sketchy.
You're screwed.
Yeah, you might need to jet that up a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to do a podcast on Gritty Bowmen here soon on just my favorite supplements. And they're sort of like shotgunned out there. They're like, I like this, I like that. And it's from trial and error and what works for me. And my wife has a slightly different cocktail that she uses of different brands, because there's just certain things that my body really responds well to. And but one thing is certain: if I don't take calcium and glucosamine, after about a month after not taking it, I will have knee and hand pain, and it just never goes away.
Yeah.
And that's an eye opener for me, because it truly is in that case a mineral and vitamin deficiency that's preventing me from being healthy, because I'm breaking down those tissues and I don't have what I need to keep them together. And so it's strictly that right there. A lot of guys I'll talk to, and they'll be, in their 40s, and they're like, yeah, I love to do squats, but my knees hurt. I'm like, well, what calcium do you use? What do you mean? Well, what supplement do you take? I don't take any calcium supplements. I'm like, how did you get to 40s without a calcium? I've been taking one since I was like 28,
They're like,
kidding.
I'm going to schedule my knee replacement soon.
Yeah. And so they get a certain amount of calcium from their food. And some people better than others. I think a lot of digestion comes down to gut bacteria and how healthy our gut biome is. And unfortunately, mine's not the best. And so I probably don't digest foods as well as a lot of other people can, because I've nuked my system, with antibiotics and who knows what over the years. So for me, definitely it makes a difference getting the right, getting good supplements in there. And there's various ones I like to use.
For sure. Hey, let me throw this in there too, and then we should wrap it up. We've been going almost an hour and a half, but I can recall at least 5 times over the last 5 years where, and this hits home on the diet and nutrition part that Jason just mentioned, 5 times where I started into a new workout routine. Maybe I stopped working out for a couple of months and I'm getting back into it. I'm all motivated. I'm all pumped. Go to the gym, buy a membership, start working out. A week later, I get a cold. I get sick. My body just breaks down because my diet sucked. I'm exerting all this energy, burning all these calories, and I'm not feeding my body what it needs. And so my body breaks down. And then I'm out for a couple of weeks sick, and it's hard to get back into it. That happened at least 5 times, and it was so frustrating. And that just tells me, again, the importance of feeding your body the right nutrients, all the minerals, all the vitamins that it needs. And since I've been taking supplements like longevity, I have not experienced that once.
Yeah, no, that's true. There's 2 things for me there. It's the right supplements, like you said, I like longevity. I have no affiliation with it, but I love the vitamins. I don't get sick like you're talking about, Chad, very often. But I have to couple that with sleep. So, quality sleep keeps me from being sick or unhealthy at all. Like, it's amazing how resilient my body is, given my diet and health and wellness and all that. and then you couple that with sleep, and I feel younger now than I did when we were in college. I mean,
that is so cool. Definitely cool. Well, I really hope that people, let's say somebody listening today and fast forward to March 29th, 2017, and they have this killer trip coming up. They've worked a whole year. And I'm not saying that they're not going to be qualified, to go on a trip this summer or something, but I'm saying somebody that really needs physical attention. Mm-hmm. And they work and they put a plan together, and they're able to go with one of us somewhere on a really challenging hike or trip or hunt, and they're able to do that. How cool would that be? So I would say if you guys are out there that need some help, I hope this podcast kind of got you thinking in a different light, and to know that they can.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
life is not over. There's a lot left.
Yeah.
For sure. And let me close with this thought too. And Brian has mentioned this on a previous Gritty Bowmen podcast, but fishing aside, hunting aside, this should be a lifestyle, and the quality of your life. You can be a better husband, a better father, a better friend. There's just so many benefits to eating healthy and exercising and living a healthy lifestyle outside of fishing and everything that we're talking about. So do it for that.
So true.
Do it for that.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian, Jason, any closing thoughts?
Stay gritty.
Stay away from sugar.
That's right.
That's for sure. All right, Brian. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man.
We
Anytime.
appreciate it. Jason, good podcast. Guys, thanks for listening. We invite you to stay safe on all of your fishing adventures and stick 'em solid.
All right.
All right, friends. Thanks for listening to the Drop Jaw Flies podcast. We'd love to hear your feedback. If you have an idea or topic that you'd like us to discuss on a future podcast, let us know. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook, and on our website at www.dropjawflies.com. Please take a moment and subscribe to us on iTunes or Podbean or our YouTube channel. Now get out there and hook a big one and stick 'em solid.